Wanted to take a minute to review a concept that I speak to frequently without ever stopping to define. We have a lot of new people now, and I need to stop talking to people who already know me. So if you're new here, welcome. If you hear me say lock your cage, I'm about to show you what that means. Form is a function of strength. People spend a lot of time writing about and worrying about running form. And that has not yet distilled into a good set of coaching cues. So when we talk about what are we looking for in good form, well, we want a person to be standing tall, and we want their feet to be landing here, and we want their hips aligned like this. That's not all stuff that you should be thinking about while you're running. Running is a very natural thing. It needs to feel as natural as possible. The more we mess with something, the less natural it's going to be or feel. And actually, you're going to get the opposite of what you want. So instead of getting the result that you've been looking for, you're probably going to mess 5 other things up. Training to one data point is kind of like trying to study for the test, where you're trying to pass the test as opposed to actually learn the subject matter. I know we have some teachers in here, and they're nodding their heads like they know exactly what I'm talking about. It's very frustrating. So we can either worry about all the little things that you can't control, or you can focus on one cue, and that's locking your cage. First of all, it's one of the reasons why I wear long earrings a lot of the time. It's to remind me of good posture. And honestly, I just like them now. It's really fun. I've got a friend who has made a second career turn into jewelry designing, and she's really, really good at it. And I get a lot of her stuff. So there's that. But when it comes to wearing longer earrings, you have to stand with good posture. Otherwise, they're going to be coming up against your shoulders. It's a different type of look. So I automatically became more conscientious of my posture in my everyday life when I started wearing her earrings, and it helps me have these cues in the videos where I can't always see myself very well. So until they're falling out like this one is right now. That's the problem with old earrings. Anyway, what I wanted to say, back to locking your cage. When you think about the posture required to wear 4-inch long earrings, right, you need to kind of have your shoulders back, but not leaning back. We don't want to be hyperextending your back. When we think about the front, we just want length, a little bit of heft. From the side, the reason I say locking your cage is I really want you to focus on drawing the lower bit of your shoulder blades together. It's that simple. When you think about drawing your shoulders back, you're going to hyperextend your back, and that's not what we want. We just want that subtle, because what happens there, notice what happened with my tummy, when we draw our shoulder blades together, the lower part of our shoulder blades together, what automatically happens is our TVA engages in the way that we want to have the support that we need for good running form. If I were to tell you to lock your TVA or clench your belly, what's going to happen is you're going to hunch forward. So if we think about the shoulders, you're going to lean backward. If we think about this area, we're going to hunch forward. And so locking your cage, just drawing your lats or the bottom part of your shoulder blades together, drawing that back, that's going to be the subtle cue that gets you everything you need in here without having to overthink it or overdo it. Once your cage is locked, it is really, 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 really hard to overstride. It is really, 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 really hard to run with bad form, and it's also hard to run fast. So when you're jogging, we want to be running tall, or marathon level racing. You want to be standing tall with the locked cage, everything supported, almost feeling like your legs are sort of dangling and hanging out in front of you, doing the work. But this, because they're all suspended from here, which is solid and ready to go. And again, it's just that simple. Lock your cage. Notice how when that happens, my elbows almost turn out a little bit. And again, that's intentional. We're not trying to think about the shoulders. We're just trying to think about the lats or the lower bit of your shoulder blades. That's it. That is the best cue we can get. Form is a function of strength. If we worry about your foot strike without trying to develop the strength required to change your foot strike to make that thing more natural, again, you're just going to throw off a whole bunch of other data points. So for now, do the strength as assigned and lock your cage, and don't worry about the rest. Form changes when you're doing sprints, when you're doing track work, when you're doing things that we're probably not going to be doing in weather like this and winter like this. So to that end, at some point when we do have a track program, and yeah, that's coming, we'll talk through what you need to think about when it comes to good running form. But quite frankly, I would rather do strength all day long than have to worry about the amount of strength required to do well on the track without getting hurt, because that is just not worth it. It's a risk that's not worth taking. Why would I go do something that could get me hurt when I could get the same results doing something that is not going to get me hurt? Just saying. I choose the low-hanging fruit, not because I'm less than, but because I have a very long view. I'm a player in a very long game, and I intend to do more work in aggregate over time than to have that boom-bust cycle of working really hard then not being able to work at all that I see so many runners struggle with. But it all starts with locking your cage and not worrying about anything else as relates to form.